question actually is, can I direct one first?
Yes.
Would be to Mike Fulford, and that is regarding his statement about not wishing to develop the preserve in a SunWest type of situation. Telling me what you don't wish to do, which we all don't want, is another SunWest. I'd like to know what your real parameters are for what you will see done, because you're talking about development out there. How many acres are you planning to excavate to build a 6.5 mile boardwalk? How many miles?
Okay, one question, please. One question, please.
It's all the same question.
Okay.
I
Mr.
want
Fulford, would you
parameters.
respond, please?
Absolutely, Diane, I appreciate you asking that question. But before I do that, there was a statement made a minute ago during our talk on who took political action committee money in District 4. Actually, there is only one candidate that did not take political action committee money, and he's not here this night. So from transparency, I took political action money on 6/1/21. Another person took political action money from Government Gone Wild also on 6/1. Hey, I get to respond the way I get to respond, and I'll answer the question.
Please.
And then there's another candidate that took Empowering Women Leader political action money. So just to be fully transparent. So let's talk about your question, Diane. We have a feasibility study ongoing. That's going to become the contract if the Southwest Florida Water Management District allows for development. They are the decision maker. Hernando County is requesting a lease of approximately 50 plus acres out of 11,000 acres. What I am willing to commit to, and I spoke it earlier this evening, no SunWest type operation. I've been to SunWest. I've seen the opportunity to take advantage of SunWest. I don't envision that for the preserve area. And no one wants to excavate. I don't see any dump trucks. I don't see any bulldozers. It's all going to be subject to whatever that feasibility study comes up with. And you will have an opportunity, I am told by the county administrator, to participate in a public sensing session in this building sometime in the month of May. And the rest of the county is going to have an opportunity to do it somewhere in Spring Hill, also in the month of May.
Okay, next
Are we gonna answer the
question.
I answered your
No, you
question.
did not answer my
Next question, please.
Get in line.
Please get in line if you have a question that you need to ask.
I have a question also for Mike Fulford.
And state your name, please.
I think I'm going to have to stay up here for a while. Please.
What do you consider the greatest challenge facing Hernando County, and what would you do to fix it?
The greatest challenge to Hernando County is the growth, the rapid exponential growth we're currently experiencing. As was previously stated, we are the third fastest growing county. It used to was 1,000 people coming across the state line. Now it's 1,500 every day. So our infrastructure in Hernando County and in Hernando Beach is dated. That's why I am running. I am a civil engineer. I'm an environmental engineer. I understand the industry and I understand the needs. The way to fix it is to create a master plan, and we do have a comprehensive plan. It's reviewed every 5 years, but a master plan is more detailed, where monies are actually tied to a timeline, a 2-year timeline, a 5-year timeline, and a 15-year timeline. County Line Road is in the process of being expanded, at least on paper. Monies have been allocated towards that project, but we have Mariner, we have Cortez. That is the biggest challenge for Hernando County these days.
Okay, next person, please. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes, please, everyone who has questions, go ahead and line up so that we can
I have
see
a
how many
question
people.
for actually 2 candidates. One would be Brian Hawkins.
Yep.
Good evening, Ms. Everest.
Hi, Brian.
So, as you can see, I'm all for preserve the preserve.
Yes.
I would just like to say, I know that, there's 2,000 people that don't have to wait for the feasibility study to be done, to sign a petition to preserve the preserve.
Yes.
Not for Sun West, not for 6 miles of boardwalk, not for, all those little bridges that are gonna be going over the canals, you know, because now that we all own a restaurant, parking lot. So all of us in this room have a little piece of a $780,000 parking lot.
Okay.
So my question to you, Brian, how do you feel about developing the preserve? Do you have any parameters on your development, or are you waiting for the feasibility study?
Yes, Swiftmud's made it very clear, and the state of Florida has made it very clear that it's for passive recreation. You know, I'm a Florida boy. I'm born and raised in St. Petersburg, Florida. I've been in Hernando County since 2007, and that's exactly how I will vote for, is to keep it passive recreation.
Okay, passive recreation?
Yeah, similar to what it is currently. There is no reason for us to, you know, I don't want to use the term Sunwest Mine because, quite frankly, that would never happen. With Swiftmud in the state of Florida currently in control of the, you know, the management of that particular property, I like to see more county residents having access to it. Yeah, absolutely. But as far as the way that I feel about it, I want to keep it, you know, passive recreation, which is what it's for right now, and to continue that standard.
Well, you will agree with my other assumption.
Okay.
that-
Get back in the back if you want to ask another question, if you don't mind. It's one question, please, and then move to the back. Thank you.
Okay, I have a question for April King. Johnson, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I know how it works.
I used to.
Probably
Very
yesterday.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, April. We appreciate your interest in Hernando Beach, and we have a parking problem and traffic problem out here, as I'm sure you're aware now. How would you solve our parking problem?
That's a great question. I know some local restaurant owners who have solved their parking problems by purchasing other lots and developing those on their dime. I don't think it's the county's responsibility to buy parking lots for restaurants. Thank you. It's something that I would want to have a traffic study done, find out where the worst need is, and I would love to have a little bit better speed limits on that road, especially in that area where the parking is a problem, because people are just jetting across that road, and someone will get killed if it doesn't get taken care of. But I think that we do need to have that study done first to know where the biggest need is, and work with the local restaurants, work with the people that are causing the parking issues. And some of them have already solved it, so let's find out from them their best solution and how they've solved it. I don't know if that's the exact answer you're looking for, but once I'm on the job, I'll have a little bit more information at my disposal to make those decisions. I can pretend I know it all, but I absolutely don't. I'm just a citizen trying to serve the public.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
My next question will be for Mike Holford.
Poor Mike.
I know that we currently have a county commissioner who lives in our neighborhood. Will you treat us with a little bit more respect and listen to us? And I know that a lot of people draw on, oh, we live in your neighborhood. I don't know how we all feel, how our residents, Hernando Beach residents are treated when we go to the county commissioner meeting. And I'd also like to know your parameter on developing the preserve. Are you passive, development, as Mr. Hawkins has told us, and we know how April Johnson Spence feels about it? Could you please explain yourself a little better so we get an understanding in public, not through emails or, you know, anything that you send out to people, how you really feel, so it can be documented? Just give us a little insight.
As far as the respect issue, the best example I could give you of that is when I chair a planning and zoning commission meeting, and when the opponents of the application come up to me afterwards and say, you know what, you didn't give us the decision we wanted. but this is probably the fairest, most respectful, productive hearing that I have ever participated in. And that's happened multiple times. So yes, you will get the respect that you deserve. And as far as the opinion that you share on our current commissioner, I'm not going to comment on that. But I will tell you, you will get the respect that you deserve and the recognition, because at the end of the day, it is about this community. So let's talk about the preserve. It's easy to jump to a conclusion and to put a decision out there. But the reality is that the way the commission works is, in order for anything to get done, you have to have 3 out of 5 votes. And you have to have the respect of your fellow commissioners. And trashing your Board of County Commissioners and your county staff is not a sustainable strategy. So what I will tell you is, the purpose of the feasibility study is actually a contract. In my world, having worked environmental restoration programs, you need a document of record. The feasibility study will be the document of record in perpetuity. It will be a legal document. And it'll identify what is affordable, what is desirable, and what is legally acceptable. That is the purpose of the feasibility study. I'm not going to flip-flop on anything I tell you. I want to see the document as it is written, because at the end of the day, SwiftMUT is the approving authority. Hernando County is asking. So, and as far as my personal opinion on passivity, absolutely. I don't see a SunWest type operation. I've said that numerous times. Now, what the people of Hernando County desire as far as bicycling or kayaking, to be determined.
Okay, I have a question that I heard someone else ask. It's a school board question, so Mike, I want your opinion. Actually, the question was, we have at least 2 candidates here, possibly 3, that have school-aged children not in the public school system, but either homeschooled or maybe a charter school. If those candidates would like to explain in more detail why they chose that route.
That's not you.
So you're asking for a school board?
So just anyone that doesn't.
We'll let you answer that one if you like.
He's kidding.
So,
Oh, okay, thank you. You know what, in this group, you never know.
so,
So I think there's 3 of them, possibly.
do you want to?
Homeschooled.
I've been here 33 years. My oldest is 40. She went through the public school system. I'm raising my grandkids. One is in private, the other one is dual enrolling, Florida virtual and private. I will put them back in the public school system when the public school system is fixed. In the meantime, I still have family members in that school district. I have friends with children in that school district, so I will advocate for them. I will advocate for the children of our community. I have been doing this for years. Like I said, I have been here 33 years, my oldest is 40. So I've always been part of the school system, more active in the last 8+ years, closer to 9. If we let our children fail, we let our community fail. So this is why I do what I do. And I do it on a daily basis. I do it as almost as a full-time job. I do other things on the side, but my heart, my desire is for our community, and our community is the children.
I have 2 school-aged children, and I mean, I'm not gonna send my kids off to get completely groomed and sexualized by these perverts in the schools, I'm sorry. I've worked in higher education. I see what happens at the very end of this process. You ever watch those videos back in the day, how they show you how to process a cow? And you take the cow through and it comes out the other side? It's pretty much what happens in our public school system. The kids going into the higher education level, it's not pretty what happens. A lot of them, God bless them, they're not corrupted by what happens in that system. But as we're seeing nowadays, with what's happening with the rise of where you have over 50% of American kids that identify as communist. 50%, that's the first time ever in our country. Where does that happen? It happens in the schools. And unlike my opponent, I've actually been in the schools. I've been to 19 out of the about, give or take, there's 22 schools assigned to school board members. Roughly, we have about 28 schools. I've actually been in those schools and I've asked the principals, the instructors, the parents with these SAC meetings, when's the last time a sitting school board member ever showed up to one of these meetings? When has a candidate showed up? Sandra Nicholson, that's the last time that's happened. I'm the first one to do it. So I've been to 19 of those. So don't believe the fancy words, all right? Any other questions?
We have one more person to respond.
Lori, get on up here.
Thank you.
When it comes to homeschooling, everyone's journey is a little different. It's not something I sought out, it's something that kind of came to me. When my kids, they went to Choke Chatty for the first 2 years, which I love Choke Chatty. Challenger, they tested for gifted, so they went into Challenger, and I enjoyed it. My twins are completely different kids. One is a self-motivated kid, and one is smart, but he's not so self-motivated, and he had some attention issues. And so, around the time that Jake was having attention issues, he would make a 90, and then he would make a 10, and then he would make 100, and then he would make a 20, and he would forget to turn the page, and no one would remind him. And so not every kid fits into the school system perfectly. So because they're twins, I decided to do the same thing for both of them. And long story, but I also felt very led to do it. I never thought I would homeschool because I thought, I can't do that. And just, I'm a Christian and I believe in God, and he kind of showed me the way to homeschooling. It's like I couldn't do it, and then that would happen, and I couldn't do it, and then that would happen. And so it brought me to this journey. So we didn't homeschool because we didn't appreciate or enjoy the school. It wasn't a fit for one of my kids. And I also was involved with homeschooling parents because of speech therapy. I knew some homeschooling parents. And so they were just extremely supportive, and it was just something that was right for us. Plus, I actually wanted more of God in our curriculum, and that was our personal choice. So anyways, it's just a little bit different. Everyone's journey is so different, so that's why. But I loved our time in the school. I really did. I have worked in the school, just real quickly, doing speech therapy. I have gone into some of the Christian schools, and I also have worked with Head Start and different things within the school system. So I've had touches here and there throughout the years. So just a little bit on that. So thank you.
I'll tell you, Mike, we have another question coming up. Mike?
Mike. You might as well sit up here.
Ms. Dotson, please ask the question.
Yes, I want to commend April Johnson Spence and Brian Hawkins both. I haven't seen their signs out all over the place. And I've seen your signs, and I've seen the paperwork given by the VOCC to the candidates saying that they can't have the signs out 45 days prior to elections. So I want to know why we're seeing your signs out everywhere on the both ways. And in large signs, not just, the average signs. So if you could answer that.
You know what? I appreciate you asking that. Actually, one of my opponents had signage out last summer behind a home off of Flamingo. But having said that, that motivated me to actually in-depth research the ordinance and what in fact is enforceable by the ordinance. I consulted with a couple of commissioners. I consulted with code enforcement. And what I discovered is back in 2018, the same situation came up. And it also came up in 2020. There's a Supreme Court case out there right now that basically talks about freedom of speech. And that's why we have some of the signage, some of it is less than desirable in my opinion, out. But at the end of the day, what is enforceable on the signage is the size of the sign and the location of the sign. The message is neutral. That's why we have some of the nastiness in terms of some of the verbiage on some of the signage. So I will report to you that I have not received any phone calls from code enforcement. If I receive calls from code enforcement, I will remove the sign, and I voluntarily removed my sign off of a piece of property that was pending a zoning change. So there would not be a perception of a conflict of interest.
Mike, just stay. Because I'm gonna ask this of Mike, and then I'm gonna go back in line, I'm gonna ask it of Brian, and then I'm gonna go back in line and ask it of April. Okay, right now, tonight, Borderline is playing at the Drunken Mall.
Gotta go.
They were playing. I live off of Hermosa, in the middle section. That T, because it's not really even an intersection, is horrendous. I don't care if it's at lunch, I don't care if it's at 3 o'clock, I don't care if it's at 10 o'clock at night. Going home, it will be dangerous for me to turn right. Now, if you go down Cortez to go home, don't, please. Go by so that you can see Brian, Mike, I don't know how often you get down there at night. April, same thing. Go down that way so you can see what we're talking about, traffic. Now, my question, because I really do have a question, is how do you suggest we alleviate that?
You know what, it's a fair question. I've driven through there at 10:30 at night, and you can ask my beautiful bride, I slow down to 30 miles an hour because I have the same perception that you have. It is a problem. One of the things that I intend to do when you elect me is I will have the authority to partner with my fellow commissioners, and we're gonna talk to the county engineer, and we're gonna talk about Shoreline Road, because there's a lot of problems with Shoreline Road aside just from what you described. Speed limit is an issue, in my opinion, and it's gonna be a collaborative effort, because we need to bring the business owners to the table also, and make them part of the solution. Because it is a problem. Eventually, somebody is gonna get killed, unfortunately, because of what, the reality is people continue to come to the beach. I mean, we just had the Triangle run into, that's a continual problem that needs to be resolved. But my intent, there's only so much we can do as citizens, right? And I do have a very good relationship with our sheriff. I have a very good relationship with our county engineer. I have a very good relationship with our county administrator. When elected, I will have the authority to make my concerns known for the community, and it clearly needs to be addressed.
Go ahead. Well, it's the same question.
Same question.
For you.
So, little known fact, I actually bought a property off De Leon Drive back in early 2021. And you know, we always had our boat out here since about 2013. We were at Blue Pelican and we moved to Hernando Beach Marina. So we've been coming out here a lot. And I've seen the influx of traffic and obviously the restaurants, which is a great thing. You know, we see this life that's coming back to Hernando Beach that's been gone for so long, you know, so that causes problems. You know, I don't frequent this road as much unless I'm out here on the weekends or going to the marina. But some of the things that I think we can do, and you know, authority is not something that I like to throw around. I really would like to get more of an idea from the citizens of the community and the business owners on what they would like. But honestly, I think that there could be some crosswalks with some lighting where you push a button and the lights flash and you have the crosswalks back and forth. Quite honestly, I think that Homosassa and Citrus County has done a great job by limiting the amount of cars on the road by offering golf cart lanes or golf carts for parking and those types of things. That'd be kind of a cool idea to really explore. And then also widening the bike lanes and some of those things. And in the high traffic areas with either a census done or from the input from the community, I think we could also put in some yield signs or right of way or some of those things working with the county engineers and the other Board of County Commissioners.
April, same question.
Thank you, Diane. Contrary to popular belief, not all candidates have to not agree with each other, because I think Brian's got some pretty brilliant ideas, and I appreciate your thoughtfulness, Brian. And I agree with him. We need to really get an involvement of the whole community in, to make these decisions. Mike, county engineer, would be a great one to bring in, so good point. It's an issue that's ongoing. We need to address it, but again, not one county commissioner can do anything, right? The citizens should go to their commissioners in their district, gets brought up at a meeting and put on the agenda, and we get community input to decide how we're gonna handle the problem. I can say that we have a police officer here regulating the meeting, and you guys paid for that. So maybe on those nights like tonight where Borderline brings such a big crowd, maybe the home or the business owner can also bring in law enforcement to help direct traffic to keep it safe, at least until we have a more permanent solution. But it shouldn't always be at the taxpayer's expense. We've got lots of communities, like you mentioned, Brian, but also Dunedin does an amazing job with their nightlife and controlling that traffic. So there's lots of things that we can explore, and until I'm there, there's only so much I can do. I can talk a lot and get more done when I'm in the office. So, thank you.
Thank you. And go home that way so you can see.
Can you, I'd love to talk to you afterwards. Tell me exactly.
Okay, Jeff, I'm gonna get you off the couch.
Can you show? Oh, the V right there. Yeah.
3 bars.
So earlier tonight, you mentioned constitutional carry. Could you explain that further in depth, and also how, if it does relate to open carry, the difference between the two and what you hope to accomplish?
So the Second Amendment gives us the right to possess a gun, and still need a background check. That doesn't change. Open carry, if you have the ability to carry, you can just display it on your person. Doesn't have to be under a shirt, under a sleeve, under a jacket, anything like that. Constitutional carry, if you pass a background check, you can have your gun. You don't need to take further steps like we do now here in Florida. So, okay.
My question is for all 3 state representative candidates. What differentiates your candidacy from the other candidates?
I'm still learning about my other candidates, to be honest with you, but I've served 8 years on the county commission. I've had many votes, and I think some of the things that have been talked about here today, I've treated everyone with respect. You know, every citizen that's come up before the county commission, because I think that's a godly thing to do, and it's a humble thing to do, is to treat your fellow citizens with respect. Various votes have happened. You know, I think I've been, to the best of my ability, conservative with those. Some of those votes are really, really tough, though. Especially the zoning votes and some of those developments, they can be very tough. Like I said, I have my record to run on for 8 years as a candidate. I have the endorsements that I mentioned earlier, and I have a campaign that I've worked for, about 14 months now. So I worked really hard on my campaign, and I think that says a lot. And I would advise you to go to the supervisor of elections office for the commissioners, the school board. Look at the races, because you know, they say money's not everything, and it's not everything, but it indicates how hard you're working, okay? Go to the Florida state elections website. That's where you can see the state candidates, and you go to the federal elections and look at theirs. You know, it's been working 14 months, like I said, and the worst thing in the world is to go and ask people for money. I hate it with a passion. I hate asking people for money. But you know what? It says how hard you're willing to work for your campaign. Thank you.
That's a very good question. And the answer I have is that I have an agenda. And for those that have some of my flyers or brochures, and you can see my agenda, it is specific to the state of Florida. I don't have any endorsements or connected to an endorsement by a chain of endorsements. You know, the important thing is that we here in Florida need to look at people of what they're going to accomplish, and when they're at the State House, what are they gonna do, and how are they gonna interact with the people that are there. 2022's budget, Pasco County received $700 million in over budget money. Hernando County, zero. They're building a $35 million sports complex, while here, everyone in this county is pinching pennies just to put together a little ball field over there on Anderson Snow Road. So if you're connected, supposedly, to other people that are connected, it doesn't seem to rub off with actual funding that comes to this county. So yes, when I'm up in Tallahassee, will I crack the whip? Are there gonna be people pissed off at me because I'm willing to fight for this county to make sure that we have the money? Yes. So, we need, number one, to get more busing budget for this county so the parents don't have to sit on Mariner Boulevard, on Landover, on Elgin, and all the other parts of the county creating congestion. Buses put kids in classrooms more efficiently than parents sitting for hours on our main roadways. So it is important that you look at who brings money back to this county and why, because other counties are very aggressive. You have to hand it to Pasco County, $735 million this season. So when you elect me on August 23rd, and stop by over there at the Chamber of Politics in the Park on July 7th, because the straw poll will mean a lot for people such as myself who don't have 3 layers of endorsements.
Okay, thank you. Looks like your time is up. We have one more here.
30 seconds. Yes, as myself, as Mr. Kovic said, I have an agenda when I go. Again, as a single father, I've been battling child support system and this flawed family law system in the state of Florida for 14 years. I've been reaching out to the same representative for 5 years, no resolve in this area. No one can explain why I'm in the child support system. I don't have a law degree. I've balanced raising these boys, putting them through school, and running a business, and staying up late at night reading case law and looking up Florida statutes. And I go to court. I just had to go to court. My son's 22 years old. I had to go to court April 7th to keep my driver's license. No answer. These are millions of our tax dollars that go to just programs like this. There are other, I could ramble on with other agendas that I have, the criminals that are going through the system over and over and over. Why can't we put a red-handed law? You're caught red-handed, your hands in the cookie jar. Let's push you to the front of the line, put you in jail, get you off the streets. The same thing carrying on here, Shoreline Road, 10, 12 years, I'd say close to it. My cousin, Danielle Caldwell, she left the restaurant up here. Down here where the road is still just as crappy as ever. I mean, it still floods when it rains, and everybody's still talking about it. It's an ongoing issue. 10 years ago, they said they were going to fix it when she almost killed herself, wrapping it around the pole there. That's why I have answers and accountability. Let's get some answers. Whether they're the answers we want or not, how about we get some answers as to why this isn't getting done? Where is our money going? And let's hold the people accountable that are spending it frivolously and not putting it where it needs to be. This is why I stand here. Remember, August 23rd, Irvin Cruz Jr., State Representative District 53. I thank you all again for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, glad I took my jacket. Hey, good evening.
Okay, you had mentioned that you have thought that, an easier way to deal with property taxes was capping the taxable amount of our property.
Right.
And I believe it was Mike Fulford who said that he thought we should be raising millage rates rather than property taxes.
No, I believe he said lower, just to be clear.
Lower millage?
Yeah, lower millage rates, yeah.
Okay.
Which is actively happening right now with the current Board of County Commissioners.
So I guess I'm not really sure, if you lower the millage rates, then you're charging a lower amount per $1,000 worth of.
Yeah. It's, so basically my program, the thing that I'm trying to do, and quite honestly, it's something that I've seen other counties and city municipalities do that have had the experience that we're currently going through, right? St. Petersburg, Largo, Pinellas County, Pasco County is going to get there, but they've capped top-end property tax. What that means is that you're only taxed on the certain threshold under the cap. What this does is it prevents inflation from pushing seniors out of their homes because of tax harborage. Because let's be honest, you don't ever honestly own your home. You're always paying property tax whether you have a mortgage or not. All right? So that tax will allow us to grow at a regular rate to basically make government spend at a conservative rate where we can do a lot more with less. And then as the county continues to develop, it doesn't hinder real estate. One of the things in St. Petersburg, when this was going on, and my parents were a part of this, this change, was that real estate just stopped because people didn't want to be house poor, losing their homestead exemption, moving from home to home. People have different financial abilities as they've lived in the same home for 10 years. I know I did, and I want to be able to improve my lifestyle, but they were hindered in their home or kind of chained in their home because of that tax problem. So honestly, I think it's going to be something that we're going to have to work with the property appraiser's office as well as the state to be able to institute here. But I've talked to Jeff Rogers about it, and I think it's something that we can accomplish.
I guess my question actually devolves down to if you're doing that specifically so that you're holding the tax amounts, liabilities down for people who need to maintain an income level. It almost seems though, a lower income level, it almost seems like if you cap the amount for the property taxes, then someone who comes in and puts in $1 million home, and we have a lot of them going in here on the beach these days, they're getting quite escaped on the property taxes, and percentage-wise, it seems like the people who are paying lower property taxes on a lower valued house are paying up to the value of their homes, whereas.
Please come to conclude your question, please.
Yeah, so new construction or any type of, let's say for example, we have an influx right now of people moving in from up north, right?
Right.
The way this plan would work is that you would have to be homesteaded and you would have to be in your home for a minimum of 5 years.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Good job, Ron.
So a person coming here that would have to be 75 doesn't automatically get it. They would have to wait that 5 years and then it would be locked in.
Yeah, so they would already benefit from the current homestead exemption that's currently in place, and they could also apply, and I don't know the terminology, I apologize, for the senior rate as well, which is the extra one, I believe is $25,000. Also, disabled veterans that are disabled 20% or more also benefit from that, which I do. I get that extra tax credit because I am a 20% disabled veteran.
Chuck Ringwald, Hernando Beach. I'd like to address the question to Jeff Holcomb, since he is currently a county commissioner and soon will be a representative in Tallahassee.
The election doesn't happen yet.
I apologize.
True.
You're right, you're absolutely right. Jeff, I know a couple of years ago, we discussed the possibility, or the Board of County Commissioners was floating the idea of a new seaport off the coast of Hernando County, which we in Hernando Beach would probably welcome because it gives us a little bit of relief on our canal system, the intensity of use. and gives our seafood commercial industry, commercial fishing industry an opportunity to expand at will. What is the status on that, and what is your thinking on it? Is there a possibility that we could get that along with this new Nature Coast Aquatic Reserve? It's just the regulations that just come out. I don't know if you're familiar with that or not, but if you are, I'd like your thoughts to share with us about Seaport.
So let me start with this. Government is very confusing. And to be honest with you folks, we've had people up here who are running for commission talk about school board issues, school board folks that are up here talk about commission issues, and we've definitely had representatives talking about commission issues. And it's complicated. Some of the other representatives, they're just making up some stuff, but I'll move on. We do have $50 million in the budget from Tallahassee. None of the budget's been approved yet, so no numbers are official, but we have $50 million to approve County Line Road. We have multiple multi-million dollar contract or appropriations that are in Tallahassee. So, but where'd you go? Chuck, to your question on Seaport, I love that idea. This community, as great as it is, whoever set it up, the gentleman who set it up, put y'all in a bad position. We have commercial storefronts here with commercial industry right next to residential. That is a bad situation, and as a county commissioner, we've dealt with that multiple times, and that's not an easy decision to make, where we have a business who's been there for sometimes decades having to deal with, they're in violation of the zoning. And then we have to say, do we say you shut down your business? And they're right across the, sometimes 30, 40, 50 feet from someone's home. Very difficult situation. So I love the idea of a seaport. Our administrator, he's came from Citrus County where he was the deputy administrator. He's got a lot of good information on that. As a state representative, I would want to see that happen. Get the commercial industry to the best we can out of the residential area. And like I said, it's not something that's been vetted out in any detail, but I think the concept would be very good for the residents here in Hernando Beach.
Thank you.
Mary Campbell and Anthony Renz.
Who do you want first?
You want first?
Yes, because the next gentleman has a question for you as well.
For who, me?
No, you go now.
Oh, okay.
Okay, when Mr. Campbell spoke, he, in his 5 minutes, he spoke about, he is for development. So I want to hear your thoughts on development, and especially for the Preserve the Preserve, the Weeki-Wachee Preserve.
Well, here's one thing. I'm not going to sit up here and act like I'm educated on all that. That's a farce. I'm not educated on all that. So I'm not going to sit here and act like I am. But I am obviously entitled. I will learn more about that. Like I said, I got into this race on a different scale. I want everybody to understand that. Like I said when I spoke, by no means am I a politician. I'm learning this thing day by day. I guess you could say I'm reading the handbook on commissioning. So I'm definitely not entitled to really honestly talk about that. But obviously, I will learn, and I would definitely touch back on that. You can obviously reach out to me anytime, and we can talk about it for sure. Go ahead.
Would you be open for a walk in the preserve with us, so we could show you?
Would I be to come walk with you?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hold hands. But also, we can hold hands. Let's go. Like I said, I'm going to be honest. I can sit up here and lie and bullcrap you guys and act like I know it all. That's not going to get me a vote. That's going to make you guys laugh at me. To tell you the truth, like I said, and tell you that I'm not educated on it, is the right answer. I will gladly hold your hand and walk around and talk about it. But I also want to touch on one thing, if I can, real quick. Can I get like 30 seconds? Oh, minute. Well, there we go. Cool. So I'm going to touch on something real quick. I'm not trying to bash nobody, but something was brought up about funding. Here's the thing about funding. People say that the money accumulates to your work ethic. It doesn't work like that. I just want people to understand money doesn't win elections. That's the truth. Whether people want to hate it, laugh at me, and talk crap about me when I leave here, that's fine. I probably got the lowest money in the race. My competitor, a great man, he has a lot of skin in the game compared to me. All I can say is my speaking, meeting people, that's where I plan on winning. I don't plan on winning by having the biggest bank account. I'm a regular person. I live day by day. I've gone through regular hardships in life, whether it was evictions in 2013 because I was battling, trying to hold down a good job and maintain, or whether it was getting arrested in 2015 for driving on a suspended license. You know, I've never been a perfect person. I never had a huge bank account. I literally came into this thing with $0. Everything that's been accumulated has been accumulated through friends or best friends. I don't have big donors. I don't have any of that. I'm just a regular person, like I said, that's sitting here with a fancy suit, overdressed, I guess. Like I said, man, I just want you guys to understand, money doesn't win elections. You guys help us win elections. The way I speak, the way I present myself, that's what's going to help me win, not my bank account. So I just want to make that clear that money doesn't win elections. Please, let's not all base our elections on that, all right? Any other questions for me?
I think that's it for now.
All right, cool. Jerry, go ahead. Let me win.
Time-wise, will this be the final three people?
I don't think so, because we got just a few minutes late, so we'll probably go an extra 5.
Hey, Jerry, it's Paul Southall, Hernando Beach.
Hey, how you doing, Paul?
Good.
He had a good question about the development.
You want to finish yours first?
Yeah, because he was, I wanted both of them.
Okay.
Sure.
Go ahead.
I appreciate your question. So I think you mentioned that I spoke about development. So I spoke about property owners' rights. I don't apologize for that. I think it's important as part of the freedom that we have in America, in this great country. So I do believe in property rights, and I'll support that. I did speak about economic development, which is a little different. And I think there's a great argument to be made that economic development will help lessen the burden of the taxpayers' property taxes and things that you're paying now, spreading it out. And so I think I support that. You know, I stand behind that. As far as the preserve, I agree with what was said about the passive recreation. That's what it's designated as. And you know, I think we need to be good stewards of this, of the natural resources, God-given natural resources. But I also agree, somebody mentioned about the parking lot being the taxpayers, so is the preserve. So I think they deserve access to that taxpayer land. So I think that's where I stand on that. Thank you for the question.
Yeah, Jerry, it's Paul Salvo, Hernando Beach. I'm in belief with Abraham Lincoln, is government should be of the people, by the people, and for the people. In that light, I'd like to hear your position and any other county commission folks that are running that would like to answer as well, but I'll direct it to you. You're going to be making, if you're successfully elected, you're going to be voting on comp plan amendments, large and small developments. And in your speech before, and again just now, you talked about property owner rights. I want to know how you would balance property owner rights of an individual property owner with the rights of the hundreds or thousands of people surrounding that property. If a property owner has a specific zoning currently on this property, be it agriculture or whatever, and stands to gain a large amount of money, you buy it and bring it to a planned development or commercial. But again, that change would affect hundreds of thousands of people around it. How can you balance these two items?
It's a hard balance, and I appreciate the question. So you asked a couple questions within that question, so let me see if I can navigate them. So my experience, Anthony said money doesn't win elections. You know, it sure helps, but that's not what I'm going on. I think I've proven myself with the experience that I have in business and in life in general. So, you know, being in a business, and I considered it, I was part of a franchise, but I considered it a small, family-owned, locally owned business. That's how I operated. That's how I treated my team members. Notice I didn't call them employees. You know, that's just a relationship I have with people. So I'm real proud of that. So how you balance, it's a hard balance, you know, but in business, you learn to critically think, you learn to problem solve, you learn to conflict resolution. And so it's tough, but you know, what do I tell this property owner that wants to sell to a developer because the farm next to him doesn't want to buy it? So they sell it to a developer, they have the right to cash in on their property, you know, so then now what do I tell them?
You know, so it's a balance, you know. I think I've demonstrated, if you go back and watch some of the planning and zoning stuff, you know, I think I've demonstrated that, you know, it's just a balance, you know, and if it fits, then great. If it doesn't fit, then you vote it down.
Seems to me automatically, if you're changing a comp plan, you're already going against the will of people at that point.
Yeah.
So,
Next.
Okay, thank you very much. And we have our final 3 questions of the night coming up.
Please.
Hi, Mike. Thank you for taking this question. You had talked just recently about the feasibility study, and I wonder if you could possibly really expand on the concept that it's a legally binding document. I was under the impression, just as an interested citizen, that Coastal Engineering, who's doing the feasibility study, is a contractor like anyone else. Under what provisions does this document become a legally enforceable one?
Thank you for the question, because it's an important question. And it goes back to why I will not predispose the outcome of what is allowable, what is affordable, and what is desirable. So the feasibility study is a document of record that the Southwest Florida Water Management District, as the property owner, provides input to, and the applicant, which is Hernando County, will provide their desires. There will be public sensing sessions. One will be in this building. All this will be meshed together into a decision document, a document of record into perpetuity, because once it hits the public, Florida having the Sunshine Law, it becomes a public document in perpetuity. And so that's why I will not predispose. Me personally speaking, I tend to like the passive approach myself. Remember, I'm the guy that has a master's degree in environmental engineering that's worked on the Everglades. But we are a country of laws, and we have systems in place to adjudicate these things, to be absolutely fair to everyone concerned. Remember, Hernando County is bigger than just Hernando Beach. And there are individuals in the rest of the county that want to provide input in terms of desirability. Pine Island is closed at 10 o'clock in the morning. Rogers Park is closed at 10 o'clock in the morning. The river is overrun. So sometimes you've got to move things around in order to preserve. And so
I'm literally talking about the specificity of the feasibility study and what credentials does Coastal have? What autonomy do they have to be able to set legislative agendas? Isn't it just an opinion that's coming out of this engineering firm?
So what happens in my world, we called it the NEPA process, National Environmental Protection Act. Okay, there are standards. Coastal Engineering is a credentialed business. They have licensed professional engineers. I'm a licensed professional engineer. I've kept my license active since 1995. So they, by virtue of stamping and credentialing that document, are adhering to standards within the state of Florida. And therein, it makes it a legal document. And so, short of showing a defect in that study process, the document stands. And again, the beauty of this is ultimately it will become a quasi-contract between SwiftMud and Hernando County in terms of what SwiftMud is willing to allow. Because remember, they have 5 mandates also, and passive recreation, as my opponent so correctly stated, is one of those. I will tell you, our county administrator actually kayaks and paddle boards in the preserve as we speak. He does not swim in there, but he does do those activities. So hopefully I answered your question.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
My question for Jack Rowland.
Hey, Jeff. Thanks for coming back up.
My question was about the port. You discussed something about doing a port. I've heard that before, but I haven't heard anybody discuss any details about that. And obviously, there's about 1 million of those. So I guess my question would be, how much has been spoken about it in a proactive way that would give somebody an idea of what this would cost, how that money would, how would you come up with that money, and where would you locate it? So I guess it's sort of a round question out of 1,000. You can answer it however you want.
It is, to my knowledge, there has been virtually no detail really that's been calculated about the port. It's really been somewhat theoretical, but they do have a port in Citrus County, so they have some experience up there that we could possibly tap into. Location, like I said, very high level discussions were had. The one area I threw out was maybe somewhere off the end of Bayport, but again, never any real studies, never real any info, just a conversation that I had with the administrator. So, but he has thought about that, and he is an engineer. He has thought about a port, and maybe we partner with Citrus County on a port. Again, this has been theoretical. The money would probably have to be an appropriation from Tallahassee, but that's going to be very large dollars, and it's going to have to be a request from the county to Tallahassee to create a port. That process has all come through Tallahassee. So when I sat down and I saw you walk up here, I'm like, I bet you she's going to ask about a port, but really not a lot of detail. But just as a commissioner, we hear some of the issues and love to have your input, because as a resident, as a business, as a commercial retail and commercial industry in seafood, you'd be great to give us some advice on that. So, we'd love to, because it just, like I said earlier, it's really tough to have those three types of zoning and residence, business, and industry this close together. And this is a fantastic community. When I first started campaigning back in 2014, I said, there's no offense, but I was only going to Republican doors. The nicest Republicans I've ever met in my life. So, by far. Even I walked up all those flights of steps or all those different houses, and they didn't give me trouble because I couldn't breathe, but no, nicest folks that I've met, and I think this community is great, but it's really a theoretical idea, but if we could move it down the road, and that's something I would love to pursue, especially in a position in Tallahassee. So.
Thank you so much. My name is Kristen Kiernan. I am a resident of Hernando Beach. Yes, so now you can write my real name.
I will.
So my question is for all the county commissioners. I live on Tarpon Canal, which is the major canal where the boat ramp is. And day after day, I watch baby ducks get run over, baby manatees get hit and scarred, and nothing is done to make sure that that no-wake zone is being followed. So as a county commissioner, what exactly would you do to help out with it?
Kirsten, it's a pleasure to meet you, because I was wondering who you were. I see all your posts.
There's more to come, Mr. Flipper.
I welcome the input.
Thank you.
And I tell you this sincerely. Respectful, productive dialogue around the table. We don't have to always agree to disagree. So you've asked a loaded question. So as I speak to you, I'm a 4-year member of what we used to call the Port Authority, now the Waterways Advisory Committee. I will invite you to the June, Kathy, when is it? June 11th, I think it is. Next meeting in this building, 7 o'clock. And I want you to come back and ask that question and have dialogue. I live on Cheeks Creek, which is one of the 4 major canals. Tarpon, Marlin, rock bass, and so they all have problems. And you know what we have found, and we have actively worked with the Sheriff's Marine Unit to help in that situation. The reality is
it's about a 50-50 split. Actually, it's probably a 60-40 split in terms of commercial versus residents. Our fellow residents rock our docks. And so I have talked to the sheriff about it. In the summertime, they take their school resource officers, and school is not in session, and they upgun the patrols. But the rest of the year, it comes down to a manpower issue. And our sheriff will tell you he can't be everywhere at all times. But I will tell you that it's a personal issue for me, because my dock gets rocked. It's a personal issue for a lot of people, and I commit to you, I will do what I can within my power to help in that regard. Part two of this is Ms. Barron is actually an owner of a commercial fishing enterprise here in Hernando Beach, and she's a member of the Waterways Advisory Committee. And you know, when these types of things are brought to her attention, if it's one of her vessels, she gets on her cell phone and she gets a hold of that captain, and they immediately remedy the situation. Now, we have some independents here, and the owners are actually in Spring Hill and other places, but they do get addressed. I share your concern. Please attend the next Waterways Advisory Committee meeting.
That concludes our question and answer session. I'd just like to thank all of the candidates that participated.
I asked for all the commissioners to just answer. If you don't mind, Diane, just give them, I mean, it's not a lot, give them each like 3 minutes and just answer.
Audience, are you all game to go another 10, 15 minutes? Okay.
All right.
Go ahead, April.
Oh, thank you. You know, I think it's a real important problem to fix. One of my best friends lives on the same canal as you, and we do see people speeding by there. Maybe we can think outside the box. Our school district just has a guardian program to kind of help the school resource officers, so there's civilians that are working with the sheriff or with the law enforcement. So maybe we can come up with some kind of program like that to help patrol when sheriff's department isn't able to, or even a tip line for Hernando Beach. You know, if it's become a real big problem, maybe creating a special tip line for the residents that they can, you know, submit it to the sheriff's department, maybe would help. You know, boats have a license plate number on them just like cars do. So maybe it's something that if it's a repeat offender and you notice it a lot, the sheriff's department can have a conversation before law enforcement has to actually like arrest anybody. But you know, maybe they can start that by being proactive.
Red right return, right? So I'm a Navy guy. I was a boatswain in the Navy, so I have a lot of experience on the water. I drove the Captain's Gate in the Admiral barge on the USS John F. Kennedy for 3.5 years. So I'm one of those guys that grew up on the water, and I love these Gulf waters. I respect them, and I expect other people to respect them as well. As an entrepreneur, I'm trying to come up with some really good, off the cuff type of ideas, because quite honestly, I don't know if there's an actual solution outside of education and continuing to be an advocate of this in the community. But let's partner with the FWC or the Sheriff's Marine Unit, and let's put a speed trap out there. We have speed traps on roads all the time. I think that would be an opportunity not only to educate the boaters that are maybe new to the waters, that don't understand the rules and regulations of boating and safely boating. I know we do it, they're boarding vessels and stuff like that all the time for BWIs and different things, and ensuring that. So I think, with the, Mike talked about the waterways, I guess association or board, I'm not very familiar with that. But if we could partner with the local municipalities to try to educate, I think that's the biggest thing, is the education part.
Thank you for the question. It's a great question, and it would be my honor to represent your concern as your next county commissioner in District 4. You've heard lots of great ideas. That's what we'll thrive on, is ideas and then implementing those ideas. But to me, it comes down to a respect issue, and Mr. Hawkins alluded to it a little bit. Being a good neighbor I mean, we've lost that in our country and in our county in some ways, and respect your fellow neighbor and their property. But law enforcement could help. I really loved April's idea of auxiliary or volunteer force. I think that's a fantastic idea, but I would love to represent your concern. That's what we're here for. Thank you for the question.
I'm back. So actually, I'm actually glad I get to answer on this. I have a buddy who actually charter fishes out of here. His name's Captain Gary, and he works coincide with another captain out here. You guys might know him, Raging Cajun, Denzel Powell. They actually are trying to, it's crazy you asked that, to be honest with you, it's mind-blowing. I was actually just telling my partner, I said, man, maybe this is a good time to talk about this idea that they had. So they have a charter fishing company, and he used to own a company on the river called Bayport River Safari, where they would take guests, residents from Hernando Beach, Wiki Watch, or tourists, and they do manatee tours, and he would serve like a wine at the end of the night and do like a night cruise. He's really big with like the manatees, the dolphins, and things of that nature, and he's actually trying to put together a group of civilians like us called Watchers of the Bay. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to put people on these canals and the river, because the river is also a problem with boaters speeding. A lot more manatees are in the river, to be honest with you. And those manatees fall victim to propellers and paddles and all that. But he wants to put out there called Watchers of the Bay, because unfortunately our law enforcement can't be everywhere. They're stretched so thin already. But Watchers of the Bay would consist of about 100 civilianized people. And what it is they put out, they have Carolina skiffs. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that. And what they have is 2 people on a boat, and they just monitor the canals and the main channels, and make sure boats aren't doing the above average, speed and causing big wake, and then protecting the manatees. They also were talking about doing something with like a safe zone for manatees too, where like boaters can't go around certain areas to protect manatees on the river. So it was cool that you said that, but yeah, like I said, you can look them up on Facebook. His name's Captain Gary Strickland and Raging Cajun, Denzel Powell. They're working on a thing, like I said, I want to say it's called Watchers of the Bay, and it's supposed to go from the Chaz all the way down to Arapica. And I think that that would be a big thing, and I think that would be something that if I'm elected, that we could potentially put together and give them some funding to help them with the manpower to protect our waterways. Even though this isn't my district, I still grew up here off the Gulf Wind, so it means a lot to make sure that this waterway is safe.
Okay, I think now that concludes our questions, right? We got everybody. I just want to thank all of the candidates for coming out tonight, participating, and I really appreciate all of the people that have shown up here tonight to hear the candidates speak. And I hope that you've taken something away from this tonight and it's been worthwhile for you. I'd like to give our hospitality team here a good hand for all of the work they put into membership as well, and just thank everyone for showing up. We'll use the next few minutes just to go around, gather up any campaign material, literature, and if there are further questions that you have, be sure and reach out to your candidates that you want to ask questions of. Again, this is an important decision for us all, so.
Mr. Bowen.
Turn it back over to Bill.
I move that we adjourn. Mr. Bowen makes a motion that we move to adjourn. Do I have a second? Oh boy, I don't have to ask for any.